Top Gun is without a doubt one of the most iconic movies of all time. If you haven't seen it, then you've probably heard of it. And if you haven't heard of it, then you must live under a Navy cruiser. Sexy men, women, high-flying action, romance, hear bangers on the soundtrack. Some would say the movie has it all. It is also incredibly cheesy, which is a plus at least for me personally. Last year, it received a long-awaited sequel in the form of Top Gun Maverick, which provided a more modern take on the universe, at least in the sense of the Michael Bay-esque plot, and tied up a lot of the questions left unanswered by the first movie. But I think people are missing something kind of interesting. If you ask me, the Top Gun series isn't about planes and fighter pilots at all. In fact, the Top Gun series isn't even a series in my opinion, but one movie split into two.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, you kill me. You really do.
It isn't obvious till you take a look at how just conjoined these two plot lines are and the incredibly touching hidden meaning behind their story. Now, I know what you might be thinking. This is preposterous. There are two Top Gun movies that have their own start-to-finish plots that are therefore a collection of events shown over time, also known as a series. But not all sequels are the same. I'd like to bring your attention to what I've crowned the Frozen Infinity Theory. Everyone knows the movie Frozen. I watched it and have never felt a need or want to watch the second one, as the first one didn't really leave any questions that I desired to be answered. Also, the music was just so overplayed on everywhere on TikTok. I mean, I'm just sick of it. They were average tunes at best. People just need to let it go. The point I'm trying to make here is that there are not enough questions left by the state of the world that the movie leaves on that would require me to come back to get more information to form an opinion on the universe and its characters. Now let's take a look at Avengers, specifically Infinity War and Endgame. You cannot watch Avengers Infinity War and get the full story of that movie. Infinity War is the first half setup for the action-packed climax that is Endgame. These two plots cannot exist without one another, even if they are decent on their own. That is the essence of the Frozen Infinity Theory. Some movie sequels are simply another story told in the same world, while other movie sequels are a continuation of the events in that universe that you cannot fully appreciate without having seen it all. But how did Top Gun and its sequel fall into this? Let me explain. To do that, we have to look at first the movie and the questions left up to chance by it, and then how the second movie carries those on and expands upon them. The original Top Gun follows the journey of Maverick as he transforms from a cocky young fighter pilot fighting for the reputation of his old man to a still very cocky, but caring and responsible pilot who can be trusted by his teammates in the vigorous courses of Top Gun. Up until the end of the movie though, when Goose dies, we'll come back to this in just a second, and the members of the course graduate and are sent on the mission that concludes the film, there are no real stakes in the sense that nothing is threatened but the character's pride. It is simply about the students competing for the top prize of the Top Gun trophy until the aforementioned point. So what questions about the world it has built does Top Gun 1986 leave unanswered? Are there any plot points that might have concluded in a way to leave the viewer wanting more? The most minor is Maverick's relationship with Charlie, his love interest throughout the first film, which was home to some of the cheesiest parts of the original.
I was afraid that everyone in that tax trailer would see right through me. And I just don't want anyone to know that I've fallen for you.
No, please, no more.
After getting into an argument regarding Maverick leaving Top Gun after the death of Goose, the two seemingly split up, with Charlie getting a new job in Washington and Maverick, for the moment in time, choosing to just go anywhere else. As those who have seen the movie know, in a visit to one of his Top Gun teachers' homes, he is told a story that clears any doubts about his father's image in his head, as well as reaffirms him in his flying style, which leads to him deciding to graduate and continue to fly. After the final mission, he returns to Top Gun to become an instructor, where Charlie also decided to return to, and they are reunited in the same place they first met, with the movie ending there. They don't show any of their future together or anything, and leave it all up to the speculation of the viewer. The second plot point that is left unfinished is his future in the Navy as a pilot or instructor. As previously stated, we know he returns to Top Gun as a teacher, but they don't show any peaks in his future career, again leaving it up to speculation. And the final, most important plot line involves none other than our favorite Rio, Goose. Goose's death is one of the most important scenes in the first movie. Despite it being a freak accident and no one's fault in reality, Maverick starts having doubts in his ability to fly, which kickstarts his character development for the latter part of the movie. My problem with this is, aside from being scared in planes for a bit, we don't really see any of the other side effects this had. We have a scene where Maverick and Goose's wife are talking where she bursts into tears, but that's about it. We never see Maverick in any real emotional distress from this besides when he's in the bathroom, obviously distraught after the events. I know you could argue that this is the conclusion, but I just feel there could be so much more with this. I mean, a man feels responsible for the death of his best friend. You'd think that would have more of an impact on him, at least to the point where he needs more than a long staring competition with himself in the mirror while wearing tidy whities. Not to mention, the movie doesn't even comment on Goose's young son's reaction to the death of his father. In the one scene where we see him after Goose's death, the kid is just kind of sitting there, almost appearing unbothered by the whole thing.
Hello.
And I'm sorry, Maverick chucking Goose's dog tags into the ocean is simply not an acceptable conclusion to this part of the movie, considering all the effects it could have and should have had on him and the other characters. The whole movie feels like it should be setting up the story of Maverick being a hero, but besides him being more conscious of his fellow pilots, we don't really see any real change in him. We had all this set up for massive character development and huge changes to his personality, but none of them really ever came to fruition. Through the death of his best friend and everything else, Maverick is still Maverick. But what was it setting up for? The movie was over. We would soon get the answer to this. In 30 years.
The end is inevitable, Maverick. Your kind is headed for extinction.
Maybe so, sir. But not today.
Enter Top Gun Maverick. The original Top Gun followed the pilots, for the most part, through the training courses of Top Gun, where, as I've said before, the only thing at stake really is their pride. This is weird when looking at the sequel because Top Gun Maverick, on the other hand, is so full of stakes they could have titled it Ruth Chris. It still manages to be a bit cheesy, but more in the over-the-topness of the things that happen as opposed to just making you want to gag. Enemies have officially pulled ahead in the technology race as far as planes go, and they also have an iron fortress where in a short amount of time production of nuclear weapons is set to begin. Maverick, after failing in his first bout as a Top Gun teacher and then just pissing off way too many of the wrong people, was tasked with training 12 pilots and then selecting 6 of them to carry out a mission that could be the difference between peace and nuclear warfare, one of whom is the son of his old Rio, Goose. Failure means death, not just for the pilots, but for innocents around the world. As far as the empty plot points of the original Top Gun Maverick tackles these and then some. To start with Maverick's romantic life, the movie doesn't take long to tie up the fate of Charlie and Maverick's relationship. They are no longer together and things just couldn't work out. Maverick's love for the sky and being in jets simply made him too fast to catch, and he was once again living the single life. The story of Maverick's future career is also filled in. After 2 months as a Top Gun instructor, he left because he felt he wasn't a good fit. Since then, he's been moved from base to base for one bad behavior or another, and despite being 57 years old, is still one of the best, if not the best pilot the Navy has to offer. He now works as a tester for planes on a military site. After rushing one final test when he learns that an admiral is on the way to shut them down, he must return to Top Gun as a teacher or never fly jets for the Navy again. Finally, Goose's death is also expanded upon, not only for how it affected Maverick, but also for how it affected Goose's son, who is now also a Navy pilot, call sign Rooster. Maverick's relationship with Rooster is one of the main plot points of Top Gun Maverick, and how Maverick's involvement in his father's death has affected him. Or is there more to it? To start things off, it is shown that Maverick is apprehensive about being Rooster's teacher, and that Rooster is not exactly too happy about it either.
Oh my god.
Secondly, when Maverick is thrown out of the bar because he's a broke bitch, and glances back in to see Rooster singing Great Balls of Fire, one of him and Goose's favorite songs, we see a flashback to the first movie when Goose had done the same thing on the same piano, Maverick at his side and a young Rooster sat on top. You can see that the striking similarity between Rooster and Goose bothers Maverick. As training begins, Rooster is unresponsive to Maverick's attempts to help him, and until this point, we don't know why. Rooster flies too cautiously, which hinders him greatly, but he still will not listen to Maverick when he is given advice. I wonder why he's such a cautious flyer. Oh, right. Bonk! We're told in a conversation with Maverick's new love interest, Penny, who, if you didn't know, actually is mentioned in the first film.
With a history of high-speed passes over 5 air-controlled towers and 1 admiral's daughter.
That Rooster's late mother had actually asked Maverick to keep him from flying, not wanting her son to die in the air like his father had. And that due to this, Maverick had pulled Rooster's application to the Naval Academy, which set back his career as a pilot for years. Maverick doing this shows his remaining guilt for Goose's death in the first movie. Before you question that, really think about it. Would you go so far as to attempt to rewrite a kid's chosen future just because his mom asked you to if there wasn't some kind of outside emotion at play? His father's death and the favor for his mom, which Rooster doesn't know, I should add, has led to Rooster's contempt for Maverick. All of this comes to a head when the mission is about to begin, when Maverick selects Rooster for the mission even though he knows the dangers he will face. After Maverick is shot down later into the mission, Rooster disobeys orders to go back and save him, where he is shot down and ejects. Maverick goes to meet up with him, and by working together they manage to escape on an old plane they found nearby, after which they reconcile for the events of the past. Cut forward a few months later, and the two are now great friends, working on an old plane together in a hangar. The movie ends with Maverick showing his infinite riz by taking Penny for a plane ride, and with Rooster appreciating a photo of both him and Maverick after the mission, as well as a photo of Maverick and his dad. So despite being two separate movies, Top Gun Maverick takes all the plot points from the first one that were left unanswered and ties them up in a clean and satisfying way. Maverick has to learn to be upfront with himself about his fears and how to deal with them, and Rooster has to learn to let go of the past and live for the future. The original film from 1986 has a slow build up to it that's more akin to the first half of most movies, and it leaves a lot of questions unanswered. The second film comes around to answer all of these questions and bring the plot points to a satisfying conclusion, with the breakneck action we generally see in most climaxes of movies present throughout. Like Infinity War and Endgame, these two movie plots are conjoined, and you have to see both to understand the full meaning of their respective plots. Yes, both Top Guns at their core are a movie about fighter pilots, but if you look a little deeper, you will find a tear-jerking tale of a man coming to terms with the guilt he feels for the death of his best friend, and that friend's son finding the forgiveness and understanding in his heart to let the past go, both with Maverick and his flying. Despite both being great movies, you can't see the full journey of the characters introduced without having seen both. But hey, that's just my opinion. Let me know if you disagree down in the comments, or if you've seen one of the movies and not the other, but you enjoyed it just fine anyway. Until then though,
I'm going to record a cringe outro and change it last minute. This video took a lot of time and the health of my liver to get out, so I hope you enjoyed it. At least more than I enjoyed watching both Top Gun movies at least 5 times a piece. With all that out of the way, I gotta head out. So I'm gonna catch all you radicals later.